Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Project Interview. I am Ruben Russell from the Caribbean Blockchain Network, and I'm here with Thale Sonneman, co-founder of the Hiway project. Hi Thale.
Hello, welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm in the middle of Amsterdam and the weather is really great, which is something normally it's quite special for Amsterdam, but this year we're having quite a bit of luck, I have to say. So I'm doing fine, yeah.
That's good to hear. Now Thale, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, the background, where you come from in this industry?
Of course, yeah. My main background is found in the creative industry in Amsterdam. I've been working in film and photography production for, let's say, 5 or 6 years. Always been quite interested in entrepreneurial types of things, and I've been running a few small businesses. And I think a year ago, my boss told me, why aren't we doing anything with Bitcoin? Very simple.
Yeah.
I simply invested a bit, and my portfolio grew so quickly that it triggered something in me, and I just started reading, and I didn't stop reading ever since, to be honest. And 6 months ago, on my path came Simon, which is now my co-founder in Hiway. And together we're running it, and we've been working very hard on developing our platform, developing the idea in general, and now are now starting with our fundraising and marketing campaign, etc. So it's all going pretty fast, to be honest. But
All right.
yeah, it's been very well.
That's good. That's good. And why have you chosen to contribute your time to the Hiway project? What interests you about this project?
What I always find quite interesting is that when people discover the blockchain technology, you first immediately look at the industry you've been already working for the last period of time. For me, that was the creative industry, but I didn't see that many opportunities. For Simon, my partner, he has been running a recruitment agency for the last 11 years.
Yeah.
And he did the same, and he saw so many possibilities in the main problems that he found in the recruitment industry, that when he told me about those problems and how the blockchain technology could solve those problems, I was triggered immediately. So there was, from that point on, like I would say, no going back anymore for me.
All right. And does this also drive you and motivates you to continue what you're doing?
Well, the possibilities I see with the Hiway platform are so big and so endless that, yeah, that's one of the main reasons I'm contributing so much of my time right now to the Hiway project.
All right. Let's talk a little bit more about the Hiway project. Now, how did the Hiway project start, and for who is this platform built?
Well, like I said, it started a little bit in the head of Simon because he put that blockchain knowledge inside of his own industry, and he found a lot of problems that could be solved with the blockchain or the derivative of that, the smart contracts.
Yeah.
And how that started was that Simon has a recruitment agency, which is quite a traditional way of connecting employers and employees. And when he saw the possibility of a smart contract, he thought of a system where people could really work together without a third party in between. So if you look at the industry for the last couple of years, you've seen insane growth in the gig economy,
Yeah.
which is the economy for freelancers, work for each other or for projects. And what's interesting is that the platforms that they right now use to work together have grown immensely. We have platforms like Fiverr and Upwork has now reached a revenue of, I believe, $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they grew in the last couple of years, like really fast. But if you look at those platforms, you'll always be working with that platform in between. And the interesting thing with the blockchain, I think you see that with a lot of solutions right now using the blockchain technology, is the fact that you can take out that middleman. You can take out that third party, and you can let people work together and have the network validate what people are doing.
True.
So when keeping that in mind, you have the Hiway project where we're actually a big database of both freelancers who are willing to work, having blockchain knowledge, and projects who need freelancers with blockchain knowledge. And we'll help them connect to each other. And as soon as they connect to each other, we'll take a step back. People will go into contract together, and the network will make sure that people do what they do and get the funds they deserve after they deliver the work, and there's no highway in between, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
But we're in essence a freelance marketplace for work, so the place where we want people to go if they're looking for work or if they're looking for somebody who can do a job.
Okay.
I think the main focus for us is the blockchain industry. What we found very interesting is that the blockchain industry is now, let's say, 10 years old, and it has seen an explosive growth in both companies using it, but also in market cap, etc. And that industry does not have, at this moment of time, that one place where people go if they're looking for employees or freelancers.
True, that is true.
So I've been working with, for instance, Blockboard, which is also a really interesting ICO that ran last year. And as soon as you complete your ICO, the main thing you're working on is finding the right people. Finding the right people with the right skill set. And because this industry is still so relatively small, it's quite hard to find the right people. And me and Simon talked a lot about this because the technology we're using could be used to try to compete with a Fiverr or Upwork, but their share is so big that we don't want to take on that immediately. So we're mainly focusing now on the blockchain industry, becoming that one place where people go for work, and by doing that, accelerating that industry even more, which is something we would love to do.
All right, you mentioned also about Adecco and Fiverr and Upwork. What is like the difference can you like make points on the difference that the Hiway projects has compared to these other businesses?
Already talked about, and that's first of all the fact that we'll use the blockchain technology in the background. So
all right.
We will not be in between. So if you find someone on our platform, you'll work together. So you'll sign a contract together, and the freelancer will directly work for the project.
Nice.
On the other hand, I think the main difference is that we take the blockchain industry serious. If you look at the Fiverr network or Upwork, you'll find a few blockchain enthusiast freelancers, but that's not. It's really minimal, and we really think that we can build a platform where all the major blockchain companies will post their open positions, and which would really become the go-to place for work. And I think that's the main difference. So it's what we do in the back end, and it's our focus on the blockchain industry.
All right. And what are the current problems being experienced in the gig industry?
Well, there's quite a few. There's a few very ambitious problems we want to tackle, but I'm going to be honest, that's really ambitious.
Yeah.
If you look at working remotely with someone, the quality of the work that they deliver is quite hard to track. When is someone doing a great job, and when is someone building what he said he would build in the broadest way of saying that? And we're going to try to tackle that with a quality jury. But if you look at the current environment now for the gig economy, I think the main problem is scalability. So if you look at a Fiverr or an Upwork, they're always in between.
Yeah.
If tomorrow 1 million new people would like to work through that platform, they would have to take a lot of risk being a middleman. And I think that if we can build a situation in which people really work together, it doesn't matter if when we're live the next day 1 million people get on our platform, because they'll all work together. Of course, there's still a lot of problems. You can call it problems. If you look at the fluctuations of the price of tokens and how will that work in the back end, how will have some kind of hedge funds between those fluctuations.
Yeah.
It's fun to see how that could work out. But I think the main thing that we're trying to tackle here with the backend solution is the scalability.
All right, scalability is your main focus. Now, the Hiway platform, can you explain to the audience how the platform will work for a freelancer, for example, on their side? How do you? Yeah,
it's quite simple. You go to a platform, you make an account, you can probably link your LinkedIn information to make sure everyone knows what your background is, what work you previously did. You can link your portfolio, so the work you did for other clients, and then you'll have a profile on our website. And then you can simply go through open positions. You can sort through categories, etc. And you can find a job that interests you at maybe an established blockchain company, or maybe it's a new project of some guys here in Amsterdam that are looking for a graphic designer. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll get in touch. You'll talk about what it is that has to be done. You'll talk about the payment, etc. And you'll simply sign the contract together. And as soon as you do that, you'll have a communication line within our platform to make sure you can stay in touch with the other party. You'll do the work, and as soon as you're ready, you'll submit it, and when the other party accepts it, the funds will go to your account. It's as simple as that. And in essence, there's nothing different in that term if you look at a Fiverr or something.
Yeah. So on the user side, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
User experience.
For mass adoption, like freelancers are already quite used to working remotely and working through platforms like Fiverr. So our main goal is to make sure that in the beginning our main focus is the blockchain industry, but as soon as we want to go further, for the user it should not feel different. It should still feel like a freelance marketplace, and they shouldn't even know, if they don't want to, that they're working with a tokenized model, that there's tokens going into a smart contract. They simply want to work for the euros or dollars they have to use at the end of the month to pay their rent, I guess.
All right. And I also read in the white paper, I read through the white paper that there's also something about an online traineeship. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
I can, but I'm going to be quite honest. That's a goal we set for ourselves. That's an option. That's something we feel could be very interesting.
Okay.
In our role in the industry, but to be honest, we haven't worked that out. I can think of a million possibilities to make sure we help freelancers in maybe becoming a freelancer. What do you have to do tax-wise? How would you have to get all your information in line, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But no, there's not that much I can tell about it. Just that it's a really big ambition of ours to also make sure that the people that use our platform that are quite new get every tool they'll need to grow.
All right, and you also talked a little bit about different users and freelancers working together on projects. How do you envision that?
Like we wrote in our white paper, we're going to start it with an MVP, which means like a really stripped down version of the final product. We have a really interesting view of where our platform could go, and building towards a situation where you can take on a job with a group of freelancers and divide the work. That's something we find really interesting, and we think is the future of business. But to be honest, in our first initial launch, you won't find that. That's quite a technical adventure, and we would love to take that one on, but we'll first have to make sure that bare bone of our structure is correct and is doing what it should do, and then we have the possibility to implement features like that.
All right. Sorry. And from the company side, for example, if I'm a company or a person with a project, how does that work on Hiway? What do they have to do to find the right people?
It's if I'm honest, almost a mirror to the story I just told.
Okay.
It's make an account, make sure you give us all the information you have about the job you have to be that has to be finished, and we'll help you find the right person. You can look for it yourself. You can, or artificial intelligence do the work.
And artificial intelligence? How is that going to work?
It's going to work quite simple. You're just going to get results on. You're going to have a lot of parameters you have to fill in about your job. So what do you need? When it doesn't need to be finished? Well, etc., etc. And we'll look within our systems for the best match. There's still, that's also one of our ambitions. If you look at the recruitment industry right now, there's still a lot of discrimination. For example, like I'm from the Netherlands, and there's quite some news here regarding the fact that if you give a preference of people you don't want to be considered for the job, 80% of the recruitment agencies will go for that preference, and will keep out a few, for example, races if you mention those. our artificial intelligence should solve that problem in ways that you'll simply get the best man or women for the job.
All right.
I have to be honest, I'm not that far into the technical side of our IE, but that's something for a later stage.
Okay. And how will Hiway combat bad players on the platform? For example, people that are didn't finish their job correctly, or
well, the thing we like about other platforms, and you'll see that a lot at the moment, is simply the review side of a platform. You'll be able to leave reviews. You'll be able to take on a job after, like, an employer or a project can say, I only want people with so many reviews. So we think, and that's something we've seen with a lot of other different platforms, that this will sort itself. Of course, you'll still have situations where someone is new and a project is going to take a risk with working with that guy and who could totally mess it up. We're looking for options to make sure those situations are as less as possible. But I'm going to be honest that it's the real world and that can always happen.
yeah.
But I think the long term, with our system growing and the reviews per person growing, you'll get a really good feeling for who's going to be able to do the job you like to be done. And fair enough, for a freelancer, there's nothing more important than a good review and a happy customer. Freelancers work so often through word of mouth, and of course there are going to be bad players in this game, but I hope to see as less as possible at our platform.
Yeah, and I've also read that the payments are going to go through smart contracts. The smart contracts are going to replace the third parties with holding the funds, like escrow or something. Yeah, we're talking about bad players. What if, for example, someone completes a job, a freelancer completes a job, and or it's not fully complete, and then still the smart contract released the payment? Will that be reversible or not?
Well, that situation could not happen because for the smart contract to release the payment, both parties have to agree that the payment is going to be released. So the first party has to deliver the work and the other party has to agree on the work delivered. How that's going to work in settlements and problems between people, we're looking into that, and the quality jury will take a big part in that.
Okay.
You'll have different steps in delivery, so you'll first have inspiration and etc. etc. So we'll make sure there's different steps in the process, so there won't be a situation where the employer at the end of the job says, this is totally not what I was wanting to build, because there's so many steps in between. We're just going to make sure that the chances of a bad situation at the end are as low as possible.
All right.
But there's not a situation where the contract would pay out without the employer being happy with the result.
All right. Thank you for your answer. And how are the users incentivized to use the Hiway project if there are already pretty big centralized solutions? What do you?
In the beginning, mainly, I think in the end, the fact that our fees are so much lower, I don't know if I even told that, but if you look at platforms like now, like Fiverr and Upwork, the fees are upwards of more than 20%, which is quite insane if you're looking for a solution for a global player. Our fees will be around 3%, all because we're fully scalable and we don't have to take the risk of being the party in between.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main reason to use the platform in the beginning will be our focus on the blockchain industry. Right now, we're building partnerships with the biggest blockchain companies. So we just signed ARC. I don't know if you know that company.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh shit, I cannot tell you about that one yet, but it's going to be live very soon. But we're going to make sure that Hiway will be the place where you find all open positions at interesting blockchain companies. And next to those open positions, you'll find enthusiastic people who just want to work with blockchain technology. All those people will be found at our platform, and if you look at the competitors right now, like Upwork and Fiverr, which I repeat a lot because those are my main competitors, there's no focus for blockchain technology. You'll have a really hard time finding the right people to do a job and finding the right project. So I think our main advantage is our really strong focus on the blockchain community.
All right. And I've also read that your token is the token Way token is gonna be on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah.
And what is the reason for the Ethereum blockchain? Because you just said that your Hiway is focused on scalability, and we all know that Ethereum has a lot of scalability issues right now.
True. To be honest, we looked at all the different chains and we found Ethereum network to be the most safe one to run our ICO on.
Okay.
We never know if we're going to do a swap or whatever, but for now, we think Ethereum network with an ERC20 token is the most safe bet for us
Okay.
to have a successful ICO. And if we feel that we'll need something else to keep our operations as good as possible, we'll change things. But for now, in our funding round, this is the most obvious route to take.
All right. And what is this Way token used for on the platform? What will it be used for?
Well, the main thing is that it will be in between every transaction. So every job that's being accepted will make sure that there goes Way tokens into a smart contract. And those tokens can be bought now in our sale or can be bought at the time of starting a job at our platform.
Yeah.
But you'll see that the price at our platform will be higher. So the main thing, it's just our payment solution. It's to make sure that we can do what we want to do. And being that party that's not in between contracts is for now only possible with a token. So that's why we use the Way token.
And the Way token, for example, the payment when a freelancer gets paid, they will get paid in Way token, but is there a possibility for fiat
That's
payment?
interesting. In our first delivery of our platform, you will really work for the token. Later on, like I said, I want to make sure that people who are using our platform, if they don't want to see tokens, they don't have to. So you will simply be able to work for 100 euros. And
Okay.
in the back end, we'll change that to tokens and change it back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll kinds of systems to make sure that you'll still get the 100 euros, even though there can, of course, be fluctuations in the price of the token. More about that you can find in our white paper. We wrote a little bit about that, but we'll dive into that later when that's necessary in our platform. But in the main delivery, you'll see, really you'll be working for tokens, yeah.
All right. And how is the governance on the Hiway platform organized? For example, you talked about the quality keepers or something.
Jury.
Quality
Well,
juries.
I'm looking at it right now is that there's really a lot of different systems we want to put in place to make sure working together is as easy as possible. But in our first version, we're going to keep it quite simple. And in our first version, it's simply going to be, because we're not in between, the responsibility is at both parties. Something which can sound a little bit scary, but it's exactly as in the real world. If you meet someone and you're going to work together, there's not someone else you can count on to make sure that work is going to be done properly. And if you're looking at it honestly, then both parties have an interest to make sure the job is completed in a good way for both parties.
All right.
So the governance will be more and more. And for example, that quality jury is a really interesting way of how can we, like I said, one of the biggest problems in this industry is how do I make sure that what the other person is delivering is quality-wise what he said he would deliver.
Yeah.
Now you can go to a platform like Fiverr and say, hey, this guy told me he was going to do this and this, but he didn't. And then they'll be helping you out with what to do, maybe refund stuff, etc. That's interesting, but that's not scalable. If you get 1 million new people on your platform and there's just so many new problems, you're going to have a big problem. What we're looking for in the quality jury is building a system where the network will look for people with the right skill set, with the right history, and will help you solve the problem. To make sure that works, we'll have to put in checkpoints in between the process and make sure the quality can give like an honest opinion of if somebody did what he said he would do or not. Like I said, that won't be in the first version, and that's a really difficult part in how do people work together, why are people unsatisfied, etc. we're building that, and that's really ambitious, but it's difficult now to explain how that exactly would work.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest, we're not sure yet.
Okay.
So we're working on it a lot with a lot of people, and it's an interesting quest to figure this one out.
Definitely.
We haven't fixed this puzzle.
All right. And I've also read a little bit about the data privacy, because users are going to be uploading their data on the Hiway platform. Data and privacy. Data privacy is a big thing these days. How will Hiway ensure the security of the data of the users from both sides?
That's interesting. We would, of course, having your data on the blockchain sounds most safe way to do data right now. But if you're honest, like the data right now, if you want to put all data on the blockchain, it's just simply way too slow.
Exactly.
And the difficult part is that if you put data on the blockchain, it will always be there. You can encrypt it, but it will always be there. And if you look at the GDPR right now, you have to make sure that if the user wants his data to be deleted, it has to be deleted.
Yeah.
So the option we're going for, which is a lot of people doing right now, is put the data in a centralized server and make sure all the encryption of that data is done on chain. And that's what we're doing.
Okay. And what is the long-term vision for Hiway?
That's interesting. Well, like I already said, our main focus right now is the blockchain industry. And I think there's a lot to do in that industry. And because there's not one player connecting companies to employees, I think there's a lot of ground to take in that part. But if I'm really honest, I think our backend solution is so smart that we can take on a Fiverr or we can take on an Upwork, but we'll have to make sure that the company is running, that will prove that our backend works as we hope it works, that will solve the problems with the quality jury. And as soon as we tackle those problems and make sure those are flawless, we can drop the whole blockchain focus, the main focus on blockchain, and add different industries. We can add the creative industry, we can add the accountant industry. I don't know, we can do so much more, but that's really long term.
So the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, really. If you look at the growth of the gig economy, that growth is gonna keep on going. And if you look at the numbers right now, it could be that 80% of the people working in the US alone will be mainly freelancers by 2030.
Wow.
If you look at those numbers, I think the possibilities are endless, but we'll have to make sure that the backbone of our structure is correct, and that's what we're working on right now.
All right, good. And what are the team behind Hiway? What are the main values that drive the Hiway team to achieve this?
The team and like two of the three founders, they have so much background in the recruitment industry, the HR business, and that has always driven them, and now also me, to be honest. But you're able to connect people worldwide and tailor to that growing part of freelancers in the world. That's something we're really, really excited about, and we would love to build that platform that can connect everyone in the world. And at the same time, we're just really, really big fans of the blockchain industry. We're both investors and enthusiasts, and to see the industry grow that much is really interesting.
Yeah.
But also see a lot of problems, and the problems I'm talking about right now are HR related. And if we're able to solve those problems and make sure that we're a platform where every blockchain company is looking for work, of employees, and is posting new jobs, and all kids or freelancers go to find work, that would be something we would be really proud of. I think we can accelerate that whole industry even a lot more than it's doing right now.
Okay. What does the Hiway do on the social aspect of things? For example, are you building a community as well between the team and the community?
We've been working a lot about who we are and what we want to tell, and we launched the website 2 weeks ago, and we're now starting with a marketing campaign. We're building our community. We're looking into ways to tell stories about blockchain companies. What I find really interesting is that for a lot of people, this whole industry is quite new, and there's so much interesting stories to tell. So we're looking for journalists who can help us dive into projects, etc. we're trying to do everything we can in being as open as possible and building the community around the Hiway project, because if we're honest, the only way this is going to work is with a strong community.
Yeah.
If the community is totally focused on using the platform, telling other people about it, and that's the only way this is going to succeed. So the community is number one for us.
All right, and what relationship does the community have with the governance of the Hiway project? For example, will they be able to pitch in decisions being made for the platform?
And to be honest, that we haven't figured that out totally. We're just starting out, but we're looking into every possibility to make sure the community has a voice in what we're doing. Of course, there's quite some parts of doing business that you want to decide yourself, but there's also quite some part where the community can really help and really give you a different perspective of what you're doing. And I'm going to be honest, we haven't figured out what we're going to do exactly, all the different possibilities, but we're doing everything we can to make sure the community is as involved as possible.
All right. And how do you think blockchain technology, this is just a personal question, how do you think blockchain technology is going to change society in a whole?
Yeah, it's interesting. What I hope to see is that we see less extremely big companies having a monopoly in an industry. Like if you take a look at Uber, that's really interesting, but it's really scary. I would love for people to replace Uber with a network. And I have the hope that we have less big companies, but I also have to be honest, and I'm quite a realist. And I think that we'll never get away from the biggest companies, mainly because they have such a head start in data. But I hope the blockchain community can do a little bit, can help us in reversing that a little bit, and at least give us different options.
Alternatives, yeah.
Alternatives. If you now look at the public transport industry, you have Uber, and you have maybe in the US you have Lyft, but if you look at all those industries, you have Facebook, and that's it. You have Google, that's it. And like you have Amazon, that's it. And I would love for the blockchain industry to make sure we'll get more alternatives in those industries.
All right, thank you for your answer. And now we have like a couple questions of the Caribbean Blockchain Network members. I have a couple here. One was, what makes your solution necessary, and is it needed?
I think I already gave a lot of reasons why it's necessary. Of course, I'm going to be really honest. It's not necessary. The world is running already.
Yeah,
as we speak.
but you can make it more efficient or not?
But I think we can make the whole freelance marketplace industry a lot more efficient, a lot more scalable, and I think if you now look at the loans of people, if you look at a developer here in Amsterdam, he's earning a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot. And if you look at the same loan for someone with the same skill set in India, it's a lot less.
True.
And a little bit scary to say, because I think a lot of developers and people working here in the west of Europe wouldn't be happy to hear me say this, but I think globalization phase of HR would be really interesting. I would love to see someone in India get the same chances on the same job
True.
the company here in Amsterdam has.
Definitely.
And that's not going to be nice for the developer here in Amsterdam, but I think that's something really interesting.
Exactly, breaking down the borders. There's also another question here. You mentioned about the 3% handling fee that Hiway gets. That 33% goes into a fund, right, for the price volatility. And where does the other 66% go?
Well, there's a lot of costs we can cut because we're not in between, but there's still quite some costs that every company has to make. It's operational costs, marketing, etc., etc. Those 66% of those 3%, so 2%, will go all those operational marketing costs.
All right. But it is then still, there is still then a third party involved in the blockchain or the platform somehow.
Third party, yeah. We're just hoping to not be in between the people working. We'll just hope to be the third party people go to find the right match, and as soon as you find that match, we'll hope to leave you at it and be around for problems that occur. But that's what I said. Like, I mainly see Hiway as a database of people who want to work and have a job. And as soon as we help you find the right person, you'll have to work together.
All right, but isn't it the same as the at Fiverr or at Echo? Aren't they also databases?
Find the right person to work with. The employer has to pay Fiverr. Fiverr keeps the money in his bank, and as soon as the people are happy, Fiverr will pay the employee.
Ah, I see.
We're really in between, which makes scalability, like we talked about, really difficult. So I think that's the main difference. But yeah, there's still a company you have to trust in finding the right person. So that won't change.
Okay, so you're not fully decentralized or fully blockchain on the blockchain.
Well, I find that a difficult question. We're, in my opinion, fully blockchain. In the back end, you'll only find the blockchain technology making sure that those people are happy when working together. But yes, if you see blockchain as something that has to be 100% decentralized, then we're not 100% decentralized.
Okay.
But I also think that you will never find an option or a platform like ours or like a Fiverr, which is going to be for 100% decentralized.
All right, and why do you think that exactly?
Well, because there's always the need for someone to make sure that everyone's happy. It's really nice to go into a network and work together, but if there's nothing to fall back on, I think it would be really hard to work with someone on the other side of the world.
Okay. Some final questions. What is your advice you give anyone who is considering to look into blockchain or cryptocurrencies?
I'm definitely not going to give any financial advice, but the advice I do want to give is do it. Simply dive into the technology, because what's happening here is so interesting that if you miss out on this opportunity to be on the forefront of this movement, I think you're going to be a little bit angry in yourself in a couple of years.
Definitely. And how can people connect with you and read more about the Hiway project?
Well, you can go to hiway.io and you'll find everything you'll need to know about our project. You can always send me a personal email through thale@hiway.io, but all that information is found on our website. So I think if you simply go to hiway.io, you'll find everything you want.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share with the viewers?
No, I'm really happy I got this chance to start interview with you guys.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Thale.
No problem. Thanks for having
All
me.
right.